The comment section owes us an apology headed into NFL Week 10. Those barking dogs swept, and those best bets should have. But a guy named C.J. Stroud got knocked out in the second quarter, and somehow the Denver Broncos won that football game. We're back this week with more barking dogs. The steam room is the deli back open because it has been red hot as well. And of course, more of those best bets up next on Bet On It NFL. All right, we're going to get right into it with some of the primetime games, and this one is rather intriguing. So I got my odds logic screen open, and I keep waiting to see that elusive 8.5 at the book that I love to bet the teasers on, Marco. Thursday Night Football, the Las Vegas Raiders are headed to Denver, total 41.5. Talk to me about this Raiders team. You were high on them last week. They did get the cover for you, but Pete Carroll decided he wasn't going to play for that tie.
No, when you got the record that the Raiders have, you can't possibly play for the tie. You got to go for it. It was the right decision. And I would have loved to have them win outright because, the comment section, Kelly, as you said, we got a lot of them last week. And this was one of the games that I got a lot of comments because I said I was going to take the Raiders. And if you remember, I said Geno Smith was going to have his best game of the season. He threw 4 touchdown passes in that game last week. They had 2 weeks to prepare for that game. They were coming off the bye week and coming off the most embarrassing loss that you could have. They lost 31-0 to Kansas City going into that bye game. That game could have been 50-0. Kansas City stopped attacking in the second half, to be totally honest with you. Andy Reid did not want to embarrass Pete Carroll in that game. He literally was taking a knee with 4 minutes to play in the game, not to score. But they did what they had to do last week. They had a good showing. And why Jacksonville to be a favorite on the road, even though they were coming off a bye week too, I just couldn't buy it. But now you come back on a short week. Okay, you gave your big effort and you came up short once again. This is a team that the season is lost for the Raiders. And if they already didn't see that reality, they saw it yesterday when they traded away at the trade deadline their second best offensive player in Jacoby Myers. Okay, where are they going to get the point production on this offense? Ashton Genty, I think is a bust as a 6th round pick. They went too high for him. Also, the best player they got is Brock Bowers, and now he's going to be double teamed every pass attempt because they got no other threat. I can't look at the Raiders, but I'm not going to lay the points with Denver either because Denver's in a spot here. They're playing their 3rd game in 11 days. They're laying a big number, and Bo Nix has not been lighting it up. Definitely a sophomore jinx for Bo Nix. Denver did hold Houston to 5 field goals last week, but it was some really bad play calling and the fact that C.J. Stroud got knocked out of the game in the second quarter. Given that it is the short week, and as I said, the schedule that Denver's just come off of with all of the travel, I'm going to look to the total. This is a classic game. We said the same thing with Denver a couple weeks ago when they played in that London game. They want to get in and get out. And how you do that is you run the football. Shorten the game and not expose Bo Nix to making mistakes. They shouldn't have to throw the football much in this game against the Raiders to get enough to win. I'm going to take the under in this game. I just don't see either team getting enough points. Denver has scored 28 or fewer points in 7 of their 9 games this year. And in 5 of those 7, it was 20 points or less. And I sure as heck don't see the Raiders scoring points on this Denver defense. So for me, Thursday Night Football could be a snooze fest, but that's okay if you got the under. We cashed an under last week on Thursday Night Football. Let's get another one this week. Take under in the Denver Raider game.
Yeah, I feel like those Thursday Night Football games have been more snooze fest, at least than offensive powerhouses. Let's go over to Sunday Night Football VR. This is a game that I couldn't quite figure out other than from a teaser standpoint. Pittsburgh catching 2.5 at the Los Angeles Chargers, total 44.5.
Yeah, and if it goes to 2.5 across the board, you definitely want to look to tease the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a nice teaser opportunity, especially since we've seen a little under money come in off that 46.5 look ahead. Also, the look ahead was 4.5. Went to 3.5. That got hit as well. Picked off some of the threes. That's why a lot of 2.5s are on the board. So Steelers got some steam, and I'm going to tell you why. I using the Steelers for the TV bet. I haven't released it to subscribers. I haven't gotten to the window with it. I didn't get the 4. So I got to think whether I'm going to get there with the 3. Here's the bottom line. These two teams are extremely comparable. That's why it's a dog or pass situation. Other than the home field advantage for the Chargers, which don't really have one, and even this year don't really have one. They've won 3 of 4 games on the road. They're 3-2 at home. In fact, their win percentage is better on the road. So as far as home field advantage is, what are you going to give them? 1.5 points? So anything a field goal or better look to be the value side with the Steelers. And again, here's why. Strength of schedule, Steelers has had this tougher strength of schedule. In fact, the Chargers had the 29th toughest schedule to date. One of the reasons I bet over season wins for the Chargers and a future on them. And they've got the 17th most efficient offense and the 11th most efficient defense. Now, that's with the 29th toughest schedule. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the weak side of the football for them has been defense. They're barely a top 20 defensive team. With that said, they're now going up against an offense where that's not the strength of the Chargers, and they've had a weak strength of schedule. So if anything, this is a week where you're going to see the Steelers defense look better than they have in weeks past. And then when I get to the offensive side of the ball, I give the nod to the Steelers. Efficient-wise, they're a couple slots ahead of the Chargers. Back to my conclusion that this is as close to a coin flip type of game as you're going to get. You look at these two teams record-wise, they're comparable. Point differential, they're comparable. Their efficiency on both sides of the ball, they're comparable with a couple edges on the Pittsburgh side, and strength of schedule edge to the Steelers. Once again, if you could get points in what looks like a coin flip, it's like getting plus money on a coin flip. You got to take it. So right now I'm looking at dog or pass, but I've been getting really good information on these primetime games. I think I'm like 9-2 on the last 11, and we swept Monday Night Football. So got to wait for confirmation. That's why I haven't gotten to the window, and I want to make sure I make that disclaimer, because if you find me on Pittsburgh come Sunday night, I don't want to on the Chargers or something like that. I don't want anyone pissed. But if the game was going off the night and I had to bet it, I'd be on the Steelers.
All right, well, that's why they can tune in to either Last Call on Sundays with you and Ariel, or to the Steam Room NFL edition, noon Eastern before kickoff on Sundays, and hang out. Remember, those insiders do get special privileges here and there to those Steam Rooms in addition to your premium clients. All right, Monday Night Football. This is kind of a weird line. I'm not going to lie to you. Looking at Philadelphia catching 2.5. We might see some threes popping up here on the odds logic screen come kickoff. And I understand why people like Green Bay in this spot. I really do. Them coming off that wonky loss. Shout out Marco for calling that one and keeping me off Green Bay there in at least the survivor pools. Woo, that would have been ugly. That being said, Green Bay has just been terrible in those spots. As big favorites this season, they're 0-5 against the spread when laying more than 6 points. Now, of course, this is a tighter range than that one is. And Green Bay started off the season red hot, right? Beating Detroit right there out of the gate and basically kind of running the table. Everybody thought, hey, this is a Packers team that has a shot to win the Super Bowl. But since then, they're 1-6 against the spread. Now they're without one of their best weapons in Tucker Kraft, who tore his ACL. Speaking of weapons, it looks like A.J. Brown will be coming back for the Eagles. Keep an eye on Saquon Barkley. He is listed as questionable as we are filming the show here on Wednesday afternoon. I think this Philadelphia team knows that they're underdogs. Why? Because not only are they 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 tries as underdogs, they're 5-0 straight up. They want to win against teams that maybe are superior, at least as a point spread ranking. But I don't think this Green Bay team is superior. I think these two teams are neck and neck. How much home field is an advantage in Lambeau? Well, of course, it's Lambeau. It's freezing cold. The place is rocking, but not more than anywhere else. So as far as the Eagles catching 2.5, I have to use them in a teaser here with this lower total of 44.5. It looks like it. Marco said before we hit record, this looks like the easiest teaser all week. Fine. Then I'm going to take the easiest teaser of the week. VR, give everybody a little excerpt of what they may see on the Steam Room. I know you go into it a lot more in depth on Sundays, but as it stands on Wednesday afternoon, you guys have already fired on a few things. Let's hear what they are.
Yeah, even released premiums out to subscribers, and that's what we do in the Steam Room. We go through each and every NFL game, top to bottom. I share sides, total, any player props I have. Been giving out a lot of player prop in there as well because I can't use them for subscribers because as they come in, they're time sensitive. Lines move a little bit too quickly on some of those. There to answer all your questions, any games that you have, survivor contest questions I get, teaser questions I get. We also put those plus CB teasers together towards the end of our hour. And yeah, I'm there working for you and more importantly, accountable to my subscribers where we go over our results and talk about risk management. So far, it's been celebratory results, especially in football. Now, here's some of the moves that I've already seen in accounts that I work with. NFL, start off with 253. Cleveland, we'll jump right into Sunday. +2, +1, -1.5. That's why the favors flip. But I'll tell you this, when it got as high as 2.5, they didn't even wait for 3. That's when you saw money come in on the Jets. Again, I keep stressing it shows you just how tight these NFL lines. And I do not like reading in the comments, oh, what's this Steam report for? You're telling us lines that move. Every single game line moves. I don't think there's a single game where you're not going to get a line move. I'm here to clarify what the line move represents. Is it public money? Is it sharp money? Is it the books adjusting based on information? That's what you got to be digging into. And more importantly, you take this information, then you follow your odds logic screen and you see, is what A's saying confirmed or am I now seeing a change in resistance in the market? That's when you have to put in your work. That's why this information is priceless and valuable. If you just look at it like, oh, that line moved, I can't use it. Again, don't be square. Don't do that. Move on to 256, Carolina, -4, -4.5 in Carolina, and the under 42.5. That was the look ahead. They bet the 42 as well. That stuck out. 259, Jacksonville. They wiped out the key number of +3 and then hit the 2.5 as well. Sprinkled the money line and steamed that game under the look ahead of 41.5. Then went under even 39.5 when they adjusted. So under steam on the Jacksonville games, legit. Baltimore and Minnesota. See, this is where you want to pay attention. Are they going to come back? Is this just getting out ahead of the public based on some recency bias of teams that put up a lot of points? Because they went and bet the over 46.5, 47, and 48 in the Baltimore-Minnesota game. 272 Rams, -3 and 3.5 off that key number because -3 was the look ahead. So that's what you got to pay attention to. Is it the look ahead which got hit? Because those limits are small. And then the books get a chance to adjust. Or after the adjustment, did it get hit again? That's what happened with the Rams. 273 Pittsburgh, which I touched on, +4.5, +3.5, and the under 46.5, 45.5. And when it got to 44.5, that's when you started seeing over money in sharp accounts. So again, difference of opinion on the total once it moved significantly. And finally, they took the 3 with Philly on Monday night. Not a surprise. Key number. Looks like public money is starting to side a little bit more with Philly. Again, it's way too early. But you're not getting, one-sided Green Bay money. So I wasn't surprised they came off that key 3 already. We will touch up on this again on Last Call Sunday, and more importantly, in the Steam Room with detail. Best of luck, whether you follow or fade. I just hope you make some money off the information.
That is the plan. We love making money, and starts with those barking underdogs, which we swept on last week. Crazy because Marco gave out the Panthers, and VR gave out the Vikings. Two of the biggest underdogs
in
the board.
Tell me how I don't watch football, how I don't know anything about football. Go ahead. Just because I don't sit there like a fanboy and jerk off the wide receiver stats for my same game parlay doesn't mean I don't pay attention. Forgive me, but you just got to tell it how it is. I pay attention to what matters. What matters about cashing tickets, not cheering in some jersey number. That's what I care about, cashing tickets. Numbers don't
nobody cares about your fantasy football team.
Look at the results of the premiums. That's the bottom line. So if you're going to pick on me, on Kelly or Marco, you better bring receipts, not just tell me about my bad pick.
Woo! All right. Well, if you guys want to bring some more receipts, I thought the comment section was rather funny last week. Marco's back on his meds, though, this week. He picked a much smaller underdog to win the game outright because picking Carolina was wild, but a great call by you, especially there in Lambeau. So this week, you're looking at another one, and I think this one's really interesting. I was on Arizona on Monday Night Football in a couple of my contests, and then I teased the crap out of a Marco because I thought, and then I posted for my friends at Pickett Sports how lopsided the game was, and I was like, well, no Kyler, nobody wants to get involved. Does it matter if Kyler Murray's the quarterback of this football team or not?
No, Kelly, and the thing is, and we talked about it in a couple games last week, when you have a backup quarterback, if he's the polar opposite of the starting quarterback, that's when you got to be concerned. And we talked about Baltimore when Lamar Jackson was out and they had Cooper Rush as the quarterback. That's the polar opposite of him. But whenever they went to Tyler Huntley, that's the same style of quarterback. He's not as good as Lamar Jackson, obviously, but you don't have to change the game plan. Same thing goes with Arizona when you go from Kyler Murray to Jacoby Brissett. And he did what he needed to do in that game. Now, granted, before we get too excited about it, it was against the Dallas defense, which every quarterback's going to look better than they are when they face Dallas. But I'm looking at this from the Seattle side of this game. Can the stock be any higher right now than it is on the Seattle Seahawks? Everybody saw them on Sunday Night Football absolutely destroy Washington 38-14. And remember, coming into the season, Washington was a lot of people's darling because of what they did last year with a rookie quarterback, making that run in the playoffs, beating the Lions, and giving Philadelphia fits for as long as they did before they lost. This was a team that had high expectations coming into the season, and Seattle absolutely dismantled them. Now, Jaden Daniels got hurt, but it was late in the game, and why he was still in the game, when he was in the game, when he'd been banged up all year, and the game was out of hand is another topic for another day. But I'm looking at this, and to me, it's a sandwich spot. Seattle was on Sunday Night Football. Not often that they are a marquee team, and they had a very satisfying win. Now, you're going to say, but Marco, this is a division game. You don't look past the division opponent. No, you don't. But you got two things here. They already beat Arizona in Arizona. So it's kind of easy to look past the team you already beat. But look who they play next. They play the Rams. And the Rams are the team. That game next week will be for first place. So you can't help but look ahead to that one. And, looking at the fact, as I said, they already beat Arizona. One of the angles I like in the NFL is I like taking an NFL road dog in the second meeting if they lost the first meeting at home. You're going to get an inflated line with them because Vegas knows the public's going to look at the game and say, well, if they could beat them in Arizona, they sure as heck can beat them in Seattle. So you're going to get a little bit of value taking that road dog. Jacoby Brissett was clean last week, 21-31, 221 yards, 2 TDs. But here's the key. Arizona's 3-5 this year. All 5 losses, combined 13 points. I'm going to go ahead and take Arizona to keep another one close and find a way at the end to win this one. Let's call it Arizona 24-23. Take the points, take a little sprinkle.
All right, VR. Last week, Marco's barking dog kept me off of a survivor play, and I'm a little concerned about the barking dog this week, right? I had Carolina circled way back when, so I do a spreadsheet throughout the whole season. I've had Carolina slated for this spot. And now I'm having some second thoughts because they did beat the Packers outright, and now they are playing the lowly New Orleans Saints, but this still is a divisional game.
Yeah, and let's not forget, I just gave out a steam report that told you Carolina got steamed multiple times. I'm fading the wise guys. I'm doing it again. I did it last week with Minnesota. I've worked and moved these games long enough. I see this exact move over and over and over again. They do it automatically. You have the rookie QB on the road, and the market overreacts and downgrade it a little bit too much, and that's what's happening here. Dude, you're looking at a Carolina team that has one quality win. That's it. Forget the Green Bay. I don't care about that because they were 2 touchdown dogs. And if they played that game 3 hours later, they probably would have lost by 3 touchdowns. That's the randomness of a 60-minute football game. Otherwise, they got blown out by Buffalo. They got blown out by New England. And the wins they had were against the Jets, Dallas, and Miami, all by 1 score. So there's a ton of randomness involved. And rest assured, those teams probably played some of their worst ball that day. Their one good win was against the Atlanta Falcons back on September 21st when they were 5-point home dogs and they won the game 30-0. Okay? That was the big win for them. And for that to happen, Penix needed to throw 2 interceptions and lose a fumble. So they had to go -3 in turnover ratio, which you're not going to win many football games doing that for Carolina to get that W. Otherwise, I don't see anything there that scares me. More importantly, what happened after that good game? A team just like Carolina, which has 0 consistency, gets blown out by 30 points the following week. That's exactly what should happen this week after a big win against Green Bay. Not that they're going to get blown out by 30 points, but that they don't have the consistency of a team that should be able to follow that up and continue playing good. That we don't expect. And here's why. Carolina is one of the worst teams in the NFL. Now, granted, we know the Saints are. In fact, when I look at my power ratings, Saints are the 2nd worst team in the NFL. Only Tennessee would be an underdog to the Saints. Well, when I look across from the Saints, it's Carolina. There's only 3 teams that Carolina would be favored over. So they're the 3rd or 4th worst team in the NFL. And they're a 5-point, 6-point, whatever they are, favorite. Makes absolutely no sense. If you look at what the betting line has been for this team the entire year, they've been dogs. Now you're putting them in the favorites role. And for the X's and O's guys, yeah, I know Rattler isn't the quarterback. I think that's a good thing because of the overreaction, the price. The kid's coming in from from Oregon, all right? Here's what he has to follow. You have a quarterback for the Saints in Rattler, whatever his name was, well below the average in the NFL for passing success rate. So I had him. He was the 24th in passing success rate in the NFL. The last 2 games he quarterbacked for the Saints, he had a 68.8 and a 66.6 QBR. He threw 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Where's the downgrade? If anything, I think the rest of the team knows we now have to show up because we're taking this rookie on the road, our 2nd-round draft pick, and we have to give some effort. And fortunately for them, it's a familiar opponent in Carolina that they're facing. If anything, this is exactly where the Saints need to be, on the road, even with this rookie quarterback. If anything, you're getting the pressure off of him that he's not in New Orleans. I like the Saints here. Carolina has no business being this big of a favorite. If they were 3, I would have had to consider still the Saints. But if I could take this up to 6 at -115 like we did, I'm all over the Saints. Give me the Saints, sprinkle the money line, live dog.
Ugh, that is not what I wanted to hear, especially because I don't have a lot of better options available. All right.
Just wait till you hear my best bet.
Oh, boy. You're going to piss off the comment section in VR.
With a winner.
With a winner. How can you guys be mad with a winner? Sneak
Exactly.
peek. Ooh, woof. Oh, I just looked. I just peeked ahead. Oh, God. People are going to get really mad at you for that one, especially after their performance on Sunday Night Football. All right. I'm going to take a team that just beat their divisional rival in a team versus a team that's trajectory is a lot higher. But should it be? Hey, Baltimore won a nice 22-point road win at Miami. Still a team named Miami last week. But Lamar Jackson, you could tell he was not fully healthy. And rightfully so. He's off a hamstring injury. I will say this is going to have extra time to prepare for that one. And if Lamar Jackson does what we've seen him capable of, he may find success. But I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to be able to spread the field just yet. And I think Minnesota has a really solid defense. You know who doesn't have a solid defense? Baltimore. I think J.J. McCarthy should be relatively comfortable against this Ravens defense. After all, his name is not Tua. Turn the ball over. VR mentioned in the steam room that the reason why this total is getting steamed, they're trying to get ahead of it. Of course they are. Minnesota's last 6 games have all gone on over the total. Baltimore's road games this year, 4-1 to the over. I think this is going to be an absolute and utter shootout. I do, however, think Minnesota is going to come away with a home win. This is their first time at home in almost 6 weeks. So look for those purple people eaters, not the Baltimore ones, but the Minnesota ones, to be real loud and excited there in Minneapolis. Marco D'Angelo, let's hear about these sandwiches because boy, oh boy, has the deli been red hot. 4-1 again last week, 27-17 on the season. And boy, oh boy, I just realized you are also going to try to talk me off taking the Panthers as my survivor pick. Normally, I don't let these guys agree with each other. Like I make somebody pick and move things around, but apparently we really like the Saints this week.
Yeah, and Marco was first. I looked after I put it there. I always check. He was first. It's crazy for me. It makes me more happy.
All right, they're breaking the rules, but this is now double trouble for my survivor pick. Be right back while I'm going to go check the spreadsheet, Marco. Let's hear what the deli's got to say.
All right, Kelly. And what you were referring to, that 27-17 record, is the bonus edition of the deli. We do a video every Thursday. It'll come out where I have generally 5 more games that didn't make this show, and I break them down for you the way I do. So be sure to tune into that. It'll be a standalone video on Thursday. And of course, it is included in the mega show as well. You know what? With these games, we took a lot of heat last week with that Carolina play. And you know what? So many times it's going to put you on an ugly team. I understand that. But we're doing situations, okay? And you got to trust the process. And sometimes it's not actually the team we're taking, but we're going against the team that's in a very bad situation. Last week, it was Green Bay that was in the bad situation. They were coming off that satisfying win against the Steelers, where Jordan Love had his best game of the year against the teacher, so to speak, in Aaron Rodgers. Then they were playing lowly Carolina with them having a TV game on deck against Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. It was all about going against Green Bay last week. That's why we had Carolina. Well, for every reason we had going against Green Bay last week, all of those kind of apply this week to Carolina. They're coming off of a very satisfying win. They went to Lambeau Field and knocked off Green Bay. Now they're coming home to play the 1-8 Saints. How in the world do you get excited for the 1-8 Saints? You don't, even though it's a division game, because they're not a team that you think is going to be a problem in the division. Next week, they play Atlanta. Even though Atlanta is the 3rd best team in the division, they're better than New Orleans. It's something to look forward to. And actually, Atlanta's probably the 2nd best team. It's just that Carolina has a better record right now. This is a sandwich game. This is a trap game. Maybe more of a trap than a sandwich because Carolina, they're fat and sassy after last week's win, and they're breaking one of the rules that I like to fade teams with. I don't like taking a dog that had a great game and now is a favorite. I like to go against those teams. And we talked about VR mentioned them going to the rookie quarterback. Well, he actually played last week. He started last week, and that was good because he got that first game jitters off of, out of the way. He had a game where he went 15 of 24 for 176 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. It wasn't a great game, but it wasn't a bad game. But the difference is he went against a very good Rams defense on the road for his first start. The Rams are second in points allowed defensively, in 5th in yards per play allowed. If he survived the Rams defense, he's definitely going to survive the Carolina defense, which is bottom 3rd in yards per play allowed. Facing a softer defense and having that start under his belt, that tells me I think he's going to be more productive this week. Throw in the situation where Carolina's feeling fat and sassy. I think this is one of those games where it goes right down to the wire. We're talking about 5.5, and 5.5 is one of those numbers in the NFL that when I see it, it's less than a 6, it's more than the 3. Most people read those numbers, and when they're looking at it, they're saying, oh, okay, well, they're over a field goal. They're supposed to win this game, and I'm getting them under a touchdown. So all I got to do is win by a touchdown. Be careful. I love those 5.5 point underdogs. Let's go ahead and take the Saints in an ugly one. I'm going to call it Saints 17-16 for the sandwich game of the week.
Marco, you're so correct. Those 5.5 point underdogs. We saw it with the Jets that took out a bunch of Bengals. They took out my last circuit entry. All right, congrats, guys. You've successfully talked me off taking the Panthers and Survivor, and now I'm going to have to take, I have no idea who. All right, anyway, that being said, we're going to get right into those best bets. VR, you're up first. Go ahead and piss off the audience, but before you do, please let everybody know what you've got going on over at WagerTalk.com.
All right. I'm not going to fire a 5% this week on the Sunday games, maybe on the Monday, but not on the Sundays because I really like this board and I don't want to just narrow down that one strong play. I've already released actually 2 4%. There's going to be a handful of those in the card for sure. Also, college football card is up already. I'm not going to throw 5 there either. These 4s have been crushing it. We're up over 130 units already in college football. Number 1 in profit. And already started college basketball, number 1. Working with the same groups in college basketball that I did college football. We're going to do the exact same thing. It's a great time to jump on board. The bowls will be coming up before you know it. NBA's here. NHL's here. MMA. There's so many sports. Easy to do damage. And again, make sure you join me for this weekend because got a lot going on in football. Now, we're going to come right back with a team that it looks like the sharp money is opposite, like last week, like the steam because of the adjustment, but nothing could be further from the truth. The adjustment is made based on the quarterback situation in Washington with Jaden Daniels. Here's why. When you look at the look-ahead line for Detroit and Washington, okay, the look-ahead was 4.5. That was already too high because it got steamed to 3.5. So already they were lining up on the Washington side. Then what happens? Daniels breaks an arm, confirmed out. We know who's the backup. They adjust the line 6 points to 9.5. You're looking at 9 right now because guys just like myself bought the 0.5 point up to 10 because you should be laying about 122, 124 for that 0.5 point instead of 120. And that's why I sent it out to subscribers immediately. You're looking at 9s right now, and don't be surprised if you get down to that 8.5. The only reason it hasn't gone to 8.5 everywhere is teaser protection against Detroit. They would fall under the Wong for sure, and they don't want to get middled with Detroit minus 2.5, Washington plus 9, 9.5, and 10. That's why it's sitting where it's sitting right now, and you can still get more points than you should. Here's the bottom line. Over the last 9 games, Jaden Daniels' QBR, 63.1. All right? That's what we need to go in there and replace. Now, I get it. His potential is a lot higher. His ceiling is a lot higher. but something has gone amiss down the stretch. He hasn't been healthy because over the first 5 games, my man had 0 interceptions, playing great ball, and that's what he does, protects the football very well. Over the last 4 games, 2 interceptions. That's not like him. So obviously, he wasn't on point, and that showed in his QBR. He had a 72.7 in his last game. I keep talking about Jaden Daniels and the QBR because that's what this line is based on, the replacement. And what I'm trying to explain is this is an over adjustment. That Jaden Daniels may be worth 6 points if the drop-off wasn't to Mariota. That's the key. And Mariota's being judged harshly for that one performance against Kansas City where they got blown out like 28-7, but he actually went 21 of 30 passing, threw a touchdown. It was 2 interceptions that cost him. And that is what he's being punished for here. But if you look over career, the drop-off isn't worth a touchdown. It just isn't. Very few quarterbacks are worth a touchdown to their backup. And especially someone with the experience, the NFL experience that this backup has. It's not a rookie QB behind them. So he's capable of playing a good game. And I think that's what you're going to get. Like you said, they're coming off, Kel, an ugly, ugly game on prime time. So we have recency bias working for us. We have Detroit, arguably the best team in the NFL, or top 2-3, coming off a loss. Most expect them to do what they did when they lost to Kansas City. They bounced back. They blew away Tampa Bay. That's not going to happen here. They're traveling on the road, and I think you're going to get a motivated Washington team to at least give you a lot of effort, having been blown out in back-to-back games. That was Seattle and Kansas City. If anything, that's going to prepare you for Detroit. I think we get a much better game out of Washington. I think they keep this much closer than 9 points. And may want to sprinkle as well. It is the NFL. Stranger things have happened, like the Minnesota Vikings getting the W. So take the points, best bet, and we'll just keep cashing tickets in the NFL.
I know this isn't relevant, but because we didn't talk about the Colts game, but one of the funnier fights that we've seen over the last couple of weeks from the comment section was the Indianapolis mascot trolling Barko in the WagerTalk TikTok channel. I almost died. It was absolutely and utterly hilarious. And since Dan Alexander isn't paying attention, I'm going to put it on the screen.
I got to see it.
Look at it. He was laughing in the comment section at Marco's pick against Indianapolis. The funny part is Barko got to get his revenge from, well, a fandom perspective last week. That was, now I screwed it all up. See, Dan, see what happens when you're doing other stuff and I get to run the controls. Barko D'Angelo, again, I know it wasn't relative, but I saw that graphic and I just lost it.
Yeah, that when he trolled me was a couple weeks ago when I had the Chargers against the Colts. Yeah, and he come in with the bah ha ha ha. Yeah, and, well, the Steelers beat the Colts, and is the fandom. I'll take it. They really didn't deserve it. Don't get too excited about it. The 6 turnovers by the Colts last week helped the Steelers along, but yeah, it was funny, and Dan and John making that graphic of us fighting. That was pretty good.
AI is good for something. How about that? Yeah. Make it a fun graphic. If you guys have something to say to Barko or VR or myself, feel free to do so. We love all of the love or hate in the comment section. Guys, I need you to do me one more favor, though. Everybody get ready because we're going to wish Barko D'Angelo a very happy birthday in the comment section. You guys can be nice to him one time a year. So do that for me. And then Barko, let me know before you give us your best bet for NFL Week 10 what your birthday special is over at WagerTalk.com.
Well, we've been doing this for a long time, Kelly. Every time it is my birthday week, we offer the week for my age. So definitely that's one plus of getting older. I get an extra $1 out of everybody every year, but it's still a value to you guys. The $49 Weekend Warrior package, that has been one of the most popular packages that we have. You can buy your favorite capper for the weekend for $49. You'll get all of their college football, all of their NFL, And if they've got a Monday night play, it's included free. No brainer on that. Well, how about getting every play for 7 days for $15 more? That's what happens this week. If you buy my birthday bash for me, you can get all of my plays 7 days from the day you sign up for $64. You guys, we are on a roll right now, rolling into my birthday on an 11-2 run since last Thursday, which has resulted in a profit for our clients of over $2,500. And we nailed another 5% play last week. We had Texas Tech over Kansas State, that 43-20 win. That brings the record to 35-16 on those 5% plays. Why am I talking about the 5%? Because they sell for $35 by themselves, and you're going to get one this week with the 7-day package. So that's half of the subscription right there. Sign up, head on over to WagerTalk.com and join me for the birthday week as we continue to celebrate with winners. And speaking of winners, we're going to look at the same game that VR did, only a different way. And we both can win this one. And I hope Ace is right with his Washington play, because that means Washington's going to be scoring points. And as I talked about in previous play, you got Marcus Mariota. He is the same type of quarterback as Daniels. So whenever they go to him, it's not changing the offensive game plan. All it does is make Marcus Mariota get all the snaps this week for an offense he's already going to know how to run. So I look for Washington to score points, but I'm not going with Washington. What I'm going with is a team total on the Detroit Lions. Why? Because Detroit's going to come in here with the pedal to the metal. They lost the game last week. Probably they shouldn't. They got caught looking ahead, in my opinion. Even though Minnesota was a division game, Minnesota's not playing good. Minnesota had their starting quarterback, knocked out before. Then it was Carson Wentz. Then he got knocked out. And then we didn't know last week, midweek, for sure who was going to start for Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy was later announced in the week that he was going to play, but you didn't know how he was going to play coming off the injury. Well, he played well, and Minnesota got their revenge. Remember that game at the end of the season last year that was for the division title? Well, let's go ahead and look at Detroit in revenge this week. It was Washington that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And you've got an angry Detroit team coming off a rare loss at home. What's Dan Campbell's, trademark? He likes to be a bully. Whenever he gets a team that he can get a lead on, he never takes his foot off the gas. He keeps pushing downfield. And I think they're going to score points in this game. Why? Because the Washington defense is not good. Detroit, last 3 games, I realize they've been held to 17, 24, and 24. That's way under their team total for this game of 29.5. But I also got to point out those 3 teams that held them to those totals was Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and Minnesota. Check the stats. Those are all good defensive teams overall. They're not facing one of those good defensive teams here. Washington has given up 44, 28, and 38 in the last 3 games. I look for this one to be both teams going up and down the field, but I'm going to go ahead and take Detroit team total rather than the whole over for the game, which I also like as well. But I like Detroit team total over 29.5. I think they get into the 30s easily in this one as they get their little revenge. And as Dan Campbell likes to do, he likes to be the bully and send a message. Remember that Chicago Bears game early in the year when he just kept passing in the fourth quarter against his former assistant coach? Yeah, and they were coming off a loss in that one too. Let's go over team total Detroit for our best bet.
All right, and for my best bet, we're going with another short home favorite. Baker Mayfield, please stay healthy for this one. I'm going to knock on some wood behind me because that was not fun last week. CJ Stroud getting knocked out there in the second quarter and costing us a 5-0 in the prestigious Westgate Super Contest. This week, we're going to take another short home favorite, and we're going against one of the hottest teams in the NFL. That's right, the New England Patriots. Drake May, MVP, anyone, right? 314 total yards last week. That was 259 passing by Drake, 2 touchdowns. And boy, oh boy, did that defense do its job. But Atlanta got the cover for us. Patriots still sacked 6 times. What is this Bucs defense going to do there? And this is a Bucs defense that I think deserves a little bit more credit. They are going to be healthier. Speaking of health, shocker, look who might be back. Chris Godwin for Baker Mayfield, who actually should be the MVP. This is a Tampa Bay team that I really like here in this spot coming off a bye. Sure, New England's covered 5 straight road games, but they're not playing the Tennessee Titans this week, boys and girls. They're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will say this. Did I tease the Patriots? I might have. But I like the Bucs here, laying 2.5 at home to get a nice win of, let's call it, a touchdown. Perfect scenario for both worlds. Speaking of perfect scenarios, the last 2 weeks of Bet On It have been damn near perfect scenarios for us here in college football and NFL. And if you guys got something to say about it, we want to hear from you. So shout out to Marco, shout out to VR, since you guys never give them enough thanks in the comment section. I'll do it for you. And if you guys are looking for that college football edition of Bet On It, it's right here. Of course, we've got the mega show. Don't forget to also check out Marco's Deli and the Steam Room on Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern.